Okay, this is going to be the last of these little updates where I talk to the camera. Even though my voice sounds a bit off, I've recently had a throat infection. Went Christmas shopping, started wrapping some things up, and I used my teeth to cut the sellotape instead of a pair of scissors that were right there. I thought it'd be quicker and easier to use my teeth. A tiny piece of sellotape, like pretty smaller than that, went down my throat, got lodged. I'm not sure if it was the tape or it was me trying to cough it up. It caused a reaction, or a piece of bacteria got into a sore bit on my throat, and it caused almost, at first I thought it was tonsillitis, because my throat inflamed really bad and I could hardly breathe. And so this past week has been crap. You know, snotty, coughing, something chronic, the sorest throat imaginable. I'm on antibiotics, but touch wood, I'm feeling a lot better. It sounds worse than it is now. There's no pain. I'm barely even coughing. It's just a little bit of leftover mucus. But yeah, I'm doing all right. Right, now for the bit you came for. Right, where do I start? Okay, I'll start with the elephant in the room. Fear Library. That's been worked on. There's quite a few updates to it since the public alpha. So obviously bug fixes, balances. One particular fix I hope to have done both for Horror Converter 2, Fear Library, and potentially all future mods. When playing with GZ Doom, when a random spawner tries to spawn literally nothing, I left it blank. It works in Zandronum, but in GZ Doom it says failed to spawn blank. So I've just created a fake entity literally called nothing, and so it spawns something, but it's literally just upon appearing it just ceases to exist. So essentially nothing. So hopefully I fixed that. There's been 2 new secret levels I've worked on, which have spawned from the next minigame I've been working on, called Unlawful Fallen. Maybe a bit of obscure reference, but for those who are curious, it's going to be inspired by 2 things, one of which is my cabin WODs, so cabin 1 and 2. This is essentially the cabin 3. Well, it was meant to be originally. I decided to port it into this, call it Unlawful Fallen, because of its inspiration from the Evil Dead series, which is a childhood favourite horror film. I genuinely mean that. I watched that when I was little. Yeah, it scared me a little bit, but it wasn't the gore, it was the fucking freaky faces. That's what got me the most. The gore was like, yeah! You know, I was fucked from the beginning. But yeah, I've finished 2 secret levels. One's called, you'll get this straight away, Dead World. And another one's called The Complex. In terms of how to get to these, they're fairly straightforward, but it'll take you have to kind of find them. But yeah, it's hopefully they're worth it. It'll be worth the wait. Now I did mention Horror Converter 2. I've not really worked on that for a while, but the things I work on Fear Library will be ported over, well, some of the assets will be ported over to Horror Converter 2. Because mostly Horror Converter is mostly a combination of abandoned work as well. With the recent update, there's been obviously a lot of new stuff as well. But the will share assets, so you can experience the new monsters and whatnot in in Doom levels, in regular playthroughs. One thing I wanted to mention in terms of Doom mods as well is Star Wars Imperial Legacy. That is still a thing. But I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it's going to be delayed. Not in favour of mods, of course. It's mostly because of a giant graphics pass I'm going planning on doing, where I can hear alarm bells going off already. Don't worry. I'm not using AI. No. I'm using Blender. So it'll mean I'm painstakingly animating, but using preset animations, but obviously do my own animations as well, for the enemies and the weapons, as well as some other bits as well. Mostly because what really inspired it was my good friend Jake Burdett. You've seen him several times on his channel. He's contributed a lot behind the scenes, even in Dooming. He's my main tester. He is the index of ideas. It's great synergy. I like working with Jake especially because he's like my Sandy Peterson. He likes to push limits, get the most out of what we can do, and that's what I love about it. He challenges it. He thinks of things that I never thought of. One of which was a new system for the blasters. It's fucking incredible. It's not perfect, but I kind of don't want to change it back to what it was. So originally, with the blaster bolts, I just use this as an example. There was just like 2D sprites, so there was like rotations. So the front, one rotation, 2, 3, like so. It was curious as to if I could make it so the blasters were 2.5D or 3D or 2.5D. So 3D models aren't particularly something I've learned to port over yet. I'm not quite there yet. Plus with Doom, I prefer, if I'm making Doom, I like to keep Doom, if you know what I mean. But there was one way I thought of doing it, and I put it into practice, and long and behold, there was a blaster I was able to literally walk around. And the way I've done it, a blaster bolt is essentially imagine a square, and that square visually clones itself, projects itself, and it could essentially walk around it as if it's a 3D object. It's more or less 2.5D in a way. The only issue with it is vertical. Instead of it angling up, it kind of goes slightly up, and but with the speed it travels at, it's not something you're going to notice. You're just going to see blaster bolts flying to and fro, and it just looks incredible, especially when you deflect with a lightsaber. It's going to look brilliant. And speaking of lightsabers, because I'm going to be animated in Blender, that will also mean things like lightsaber combat will be definitely upgraded, meaning that there'll be different swing animations instead of just 1, 2. Okay, don't expect to see like Raven software levels of saber combat, but it'll be a lot more interesting. So you have 1, 2, you have one where it goes like one-handed, one of a stab. So it's the possibilities are endless. I have used Blender already. A couple of bosses, a lot of the bosses, especially the heroic missions, I've used Blender to create the characters. For example, Zuckuss, Forlom, Phoenix Wings, Lieutenant Droid. The last two are poetic licensing. I made those up for the mod. Except for Greedo, I couldn't find a Greedo model at the time, but I could in Gary's mod. So I just placed a camera and did literally just took photos of myself as Greedo. It worked. But I figured a workaround like I did with Zuckuss and Fall On, where I, instead of getting the exact model, getting pieces of models and then Frankensteining them together to make new ones. For example, Zuckuss and Fall On, I used the exact same technique. I took a fly's head, and for Zuckuss I got a C-3PO's model, changed the texture, obviously that red detail on his chest, and stuck literally a fly's head where 3PO's head was supposed to be. And it looks like Fall On. So I can mix up then. And then naturally Zuckuss is a Tusken Raider with the exact same deal. Obviously with the little hoses as well. So yeah, they were done in Blender. Phoenix Wing was a buffed up stormtrooper. I did a bit of modelling myself. He had a big canister on his back. Yeah, I did that myself. And again with the Lieutenant Droid, he's, I think it was just like a clone trooper or something, or like someone in a stormtrooper uniform. So yeah, I mean, so I'm no stranger to using Blender in Doom. I've done it already, like I say, in that. I think there's a couple of enemies in Horror Converter 2 that I blended as well. I think a couple of zombies, yeah, were in Horror Converter 2. And yeah, like I say, I've done weapons as well. I'm no stranger to that, so it's going to take a long time, but be definitely worth it. It's going to look amazing. In terms of other projects, like music, I've been working on a little bit of music, especially the Memento album that's been worked on. Got a couple of interesting songs. The next album was meant to be Zenon, or Zenon, how you pronounce it. But that got slightly changed, so they kind of get carried away with a different style of music. So I've been sort of working on alongside an album called No Hope 2, Maybe I Was Wrong, which is, it's in the very same style of, a similar style of No Hope, which was, I tried going for like indie rock, naturally because I'm a big Panic! At Disco fan, so, but some of the tracks in this version are very Panic! At Disco. Yeah, it's just one of them things, isn't it? You know. But naturally, the original tracks, it's just the inspiration was heavily done by Panic! At Disco. And again, you can thank Jake for that as well, because again, in music, he used a little technique with the MIDI sheets to achieve like a strumming effect with a metal distortion guitar effect. You don't get a fucking credit. Should give him a raise. Not that we actually earn about it from MrSkulltag and stuff. This is all just hobby stuff, but I think it's some. I mean, in terms of film stuff, there's nothing really. Next to nothing. There's nothing to really work on anything film-wise. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it really. There's not much else to really go over. We've been mostly just hard at work, trying to get mostly life sorted, back on track. We've got Christmas coming up. Oh, for me, I've got an anniversary, my birthday, and Christmas. Busy. Yeah. Wait, it's all good fun. That's what we do it for. So yeah, I think that pretty much concludes this little update video. Stay safe. Stay creative. Bit of advice. Don't use your teeth to cut sellotape. You have been watching the MrSkulltag channel. Be sure to check out the links in the description below for more short films, entertaining videos, gaming videos, or check out our blog for future updates. Stein.